Welcome to the Fenix News Network's 2024 Year in Review, the yearly recap that'll make you go, Jesus Christ, that happened this year?
We're sure you're just as jostled as we are. This year had all sorts of shenanigans, from planes shredding in the skies to the weirdest presidential election like ever, a murdered CEO, drones that are probably just planes, seconds away from shredding, a genocide, and a rap beef that made white people nationwide pretend like they knew what was going on. Well, tonight we'll recap our favorite stories and try to remember that, hey, at least we have job security.
Let's start with the world of politics, where America took a break from shooting kids to shoot itself in its own foot. Way back in January, pretty much everyone was running for president.
In fact, I think Marianne Williamson might still be running.
Well, our best to her. But then one sad day, Chris Christie dropped out of the race to pursue an ounce of self-respect. That pursuit remains ongoing.
Way back in March, President Biden gave the State of the Union address, and he did a pretty good job. Remember that? Remember what that was like? When Biden could still do stuff? 'Twas a simpler time.
Also in March, former VP Mike Pence saved America from the existential threat of another Trump presidency by announcing that he could not, in good conscience, endorse Trump. He then dramatically wiped his hands and bravely ran home to mother, having done everything in his power to preserve the Union.
Meanwhile, Senator Bob Menendez was convicted this year for bribery after the FBI raided his home and found too many gold bars. You're just not supposed to have those laying around. Menendez's lawyer said, hey, it's not like he was stuffing money in his suit pockets. When revealed he was also stuffing money into his suit pockets, the lawyer threw his hands up saying, hey, you get me, before raising his billable rate.
Skipping ahead to June, where more than half of Americans lost all hope for the future while watching the first and only debate between President Biden and Donald Trump. Joe Biden was exhausted and incoherent, while Trump was a louder version of incoherent. So if you want to be president, try screaming your conspiracy theories directly into the microphone.
Back in July, Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to spice things up on C-SPAN by showing pictures of Hunter Biden's pee-pee to Congress, marking the first time a sitting House representative shared their spank bank on air. Normally, that sort of thing is done via text message.
Then things got really spicy when an assassin's bullet narrowly missed Donald Trump's head, and lefties across the country felt the full spectrum of feelings from "this is why we need more gun control" to "this is why we need more target practice."
Trump celebrated cheating death by selecting best-selling author and wildly inexperienced politician J.D. Vance as his official running mate. People who know Vance personally all say that the book is better.
And then also in July, big month for America, Biden withdrew from the presidential race, passing the torch on to Kamala Harris and kicking off Brat's summer. Hopeful liberals everywhere began gaslighting themselves that America had moved past being insanely sexist. VP Harris, with her finger on the pulse of the American electorate, chose doughy Midwest white guy Tim Walz as her running mate, kicking off a period of mayonnaise flying off the shelves.
In September, Trump claimed victory after suffering a humiliating loss to VP Harris in the second presidential debate. A spoiler alert, America only wants there to be serious consequences for losing a debate sometimes.
Also in September, a man was arrested while attempting to assassinate Donald Trump while he played golf. But this time, everyone just kind of went, that's crazy, and then went on with their day.
Now, of course, on November 5th, Donald Trump won the first uncontested presidential election in 4 years. This makes him the oldest and least fit president in U.S. history, which is why his supporters didn't like Biden. And we urge you not to think about that for too long, or your brain will blow up.
Trump began stalking his cabinet with whichever rapist he had laid eyes on that day, including Matt Gaetz. Yes, the political bad boy went from an ethics investigation to leaving Congress to being picked for Attorney General, pulling out of that gig, and eventually getting an OAN television show in the hopes that he can have sex with all the young women that he wants with no restrictions. But now it looks like Santa might bring you that ethics report if you're good little boys and girls, so get out the damn cookies and milk already.
And speaking of getting away with stuff, Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter, who responded he'll probably never, maybe do those things ever again. He hopes.
Now, we wanted to shine a light on our once and future president's big year, but we hit a snag.
He is the grift that keeps on grifting, but the problem is that just hitting the highlights of the low points seems like a job for George R.R. Martin. It's going to take forever to write. It's going to take even longer to get through, and it is going to end really badly.
The other problem is that we're sick to death of talking about this asshole. So let's just focus on all the shit that Trump tried to sell people this year before becoming leader of the free world. That list includes Bibles, watches, gold shoes, cologne, NFTs, photo books, silver coins, Bitcoin, ornaments, mugshot products, pieces of his suits, state secrets, and future policy positions. Oh, and don't forget about Eric. On the other hand, Taylor Swift became an official billionaire this year without ripping anyone off. Different strokes, I suppose.
Gather round, children. It's story time. Once upon a time, there was this great and powerful Kennedy who wanted to run for president. So he told everyone that he had brain worms. And then he told everyone about the hilarious time he staged a bike accident with a dead bear corpse in Central Park. And no one laughed because that was creepy as shit. And then his daughter told everybody about the time he rained dead whale juice on his family during a road trip.
Things were starting to not look so good for RFK Jr., and he needed a friend. Ideally one that was cool with sending tasteful nudes. Then he met a journalist named Olivia Nuzzi who fit the bill. This upset his wife, Cheryl Hines from Curb Your Enthusiasm, who retaliated by selling candles in front of him while he showered. In the end, Olivia Nuzzi got fired, and RFK Jr. will be running your healthcare soon. Sweet dreams, kids.
The U.S. wasn't the only country having a meltdown this year. Let's have a look at some news from around the world.
Pretty much every country in the world this year looked at their government and said, no thanks, bring me another one. For example, Mexico preemptively shamed the U.S. by electing a qualified, smart, and capable woman, Claudia Sheinbaum, to be president. Other countries can do it, but we can't. And if you'll excuse me, I have to go find a void to scream into.
Over in the UK, Keir Starmer succeeded Rishi Sunak as the British Prime Minister, despite Sunak's calls for best 2 out of 3.
In South Korea, President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law and then took it back, saying, just kidding, you guys, oh my God, can't you take a joke? That somehow did not stop the impeachment proceedings.
France's government collapsed recently, as did Germany's. In fact, the only people who didn't want a fresh new government was Russia, where Putin was re-elected as president of Russia with the full support of 88% of Russians who do not want to go look out that window. No, thank you.
Old Vladdy P visited North Korea for the first time in 24 years. He reportedly said to Kim Jong-un, hey, it's a nice standing army you got there. Any of them speak Ukrainian?
Earlier this year, Estonia became the 36th country to officially legalize same-sex marriage. And if they wait a few months into the Trump administration, they might move up to 35th.
In March, France became the first country to enshrine abortion in its constitution, adding it to a prior amendment that gave children the right to smoke cigarettes and experience ennui.
Over in the ever-spicy Middle East, pagers across Lebanon exploded, killing and injuring thousands in a complex trap set by Israel. Millions of college-age activists took to Google to look up what a pager is.
Then, in a follow-up attack, walkie-talkies belonging to Hezbollah members exploded as well, spurring young activists to Google what is a CB radio in anticipation of future attacks, causing search algorithms to begin pushing the 1970 song Convoy to the top of the streaming charts.
This year was a wild one in the world of entertainment. Here to comment is our chief entertainment correspondent, Mike Dynamo.
Thanks, guys. So let's start way back in January, marking the end of an era in family-friendly entertainment, as Steamboat Willie, aka that mouse in Something Something Mickey, reached to the public domain. And in a related story, January 2024 marked the beginning of a new era of some really weird pornography. Then, in February, Beyoncé became the first Black female artist to top Billboard's Hot Country chart with Texas Hold'em. Most of the South suddenly became an unofficial flash mob style advertisement for the 1981 film Scanners. Hey, remember that time Drake and Kendrick Lamar got into a big time rap beef? Yeah, that was really fun, especially the part when Kendrick won. But none of that was nearly as fun as when Drake sued Kendrick and Drake's shared label, saying they played Kendrick's diss tracks more than Drake's. We assume that this will kick off a cascading wave of back and forth diss tracks until diss tracks make up 95% of the music industry, even though they probably make up about 75% now. Also, did you guys hear about how Liam and Noel Gallagher went broke this year? Fearing they wouldn't be able to get drunk and shit on each other, they were forced to put the old band Oasis back together. Now, they can get drunk and talk all the shit they want. And with that, happy holidays, you guys.
2024 was also a stunningly stupid year in the world of business. For example, Google signed a 20-year deal to buy power from the restarted 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant after only reading the first 2 pages of results from the search query, "What's the worst that could happen?"
SpaceX made the first successful capture of a returning rocket with its giant robotic arm, bringing space technology one step further along and looking like a pretty good dick joke.
Social media went wild this year when everybody finally made Twitter their ex and flocked to Meta's competing app Threads before realizing that that was just a rebound and crawling into bed with Blue Sky. And wrapping up the year in a big way, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down on a Manhattan sidewalk by legit snack Luigi Mangione, bringing the U.S. closer to terms with how extremely jaded it has become.
But perhaps no business has had a more, let's say, colorful year than Boeing. It all started when a Boeing 737 MAX 9 plane lost some of its plane while planing, causing hundreds of planes to be grounded by the FAA. A bold start to a pattern that Boeing would stick to throughout the year.
Then a bunch of other planes started having issues, and the CEO was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and bounce. But Boeing remained undeterred. They decided to fulfill 2 astronauts' lifelong dream of going to space. And hey, it's not Boeing's fault. All those astronauts said was that they wanted to go up. They never said anything about wanting to come back down.
We would love to tell you more about all of Boeing's plugs, fires, horrific management scandals, labor strikes, and whistleblowers. But Boeing whistleblowers have a habit of mysteriously ending up dead. So all we're saying is, Boeing, we salute you. Thank you for making our comedy jobs so much easier.
And now it's time for us to hand out our year-end awards. First up, the Fenix Rising Award for Most Dad 2024, Jeremy Haston, for his bold portrayal of a middle American white dad at a barbecue, showing his support for former VP contender Tim Walz. Stunning.
And the Phoenix Flame Award for Most Job Titles 2024 goes to Jenn Haston, whose profile now uses up 35% of the storage on LinkedIn servers. Congrats to Jenn, she's from the future.
Next up, the Phoenix Ashhole Award for Found Out They Were Both from the Same Crappy Town is a tie between Zach and Austin, who are both refugees from Corpus Christi. Don't worry though, we hosed him down before we let him write for the show.
The Friday Night Phoenix Award for being the best at karaoke cannot be awarded for 2024, as Andrea, Mike, and Jen have not yet had a chance to fight gladiator style.
The Phoenix Fresh Award for 2024 goes to Mike Dynamo for his unparalleled ability to make pop culture references that none of us understand, but we all just kind of nod and hope we play it off like we're still cool. But we're not cool. We're not cool.
Not cool.
Not even a little bit. Mike is cool. We tell people that we know Mike so we can feel vicariously cool.
Now, a lot of award shows might think it tacky to give the host the highest honor. But none of those losers just won the 2024 Most Phoenix Award for Excellence. Congratulations to Andrea, who has been described in the comments as Cat Lady, failed liberal comedian, fake news, nerd, and Marxist commie America hater. She really is everything the show stands for.
Thanks, you guys. Now, we've done a lot of looking back at this point, but it's time to look ahead with our chief future correspondent, Jenn Haston. Jenn, you're about 2 years into the future, yes?
That's right.
And how are things going?
Oh, it's been interesting. You know how you guys are spending a lot of time talking about raw milk right now?
Yeah?
Well, you will not believe how we're getting milk in the future. You have to slide under the cow like you're giving it an oil change.
Well, that's different.
Look, Jenn, let's cut to the chase. The thing on everyone's mind is, was it all worth it? Do prices finally go down in the future?
Yes, prices go down.
Oh, thank goodness. At least we have that, right?
On souls. Souls are dirt cheap now. Everything else is a lot.
Okay, Merry Christmas, Jenn, and try to have fun in the future. That wraps up our look at 2024, and I think we've learned a lot.
Yeah, like what happens when you mix vermouth with cough syrup.
Yeah, that was a valuable lesson. Yeah. We're taking next week off to eat cookies, but we will be back in 2025 with some fun new surprises. Till then, may your holidays be happy and your war on Christmas a grinding quagmire.
Love you. Bye.